Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sandy shores of Ocean Gate Borough. I'm here with Mayor Paul Kennedy and Lou Procaro, here to talk about the 100th anniversary of Ocean Gate here in 2018. Certainly a significant milestone, and they've got a lot of celebrations coming up, and a couple that have already passed. Joining me first is Mayor Paul Kennedy. First, happy birthday to the borough.
Thanks, man.
What are some of the things you guys are doing to celebrate this year?
Well, this year so far we had a sock hop last month, and very successful event, very well attended, and people actually, the vibe was so big that they kind of want to have another one. They can't wait for another one. That's how, I mean, the ladies that worked on that did a really nice job, and I was unfortunate I was unable to attend, but from what I heard, it was the talk of the town and still is.
100 years is significant, I guess, no matter how much you look at it. The fact that it became a borough back in 1918, how have you seen in your time as mayor and before that, just watching Ocean Gate continue to grow over the years to what it's become today?
Well, I've been here for 30 years and been involved in the government 21, so I've seen a lot of changes. It used to be this little sleepy little town when I first came down here from Union County, and nice and quiet, and always wanted to get involved. And we were raising our family then, so I really couldn't, or really my wife wouldn't let me. It really is the truth. But I've seen it through the years. We raised our kids here, my entire family, and it's changed quite drastically. I think there's more year-round residents here now, and obviously the big thing for us was when Sandy came and kind of changed the whole infrastructure of the borough. It's we've bounced back for the better. A lot of things that we got improvements, a lot of stuff that we didn't have to pay for, that FEMA took care of little by little, 75%, 80%, now it was 100. So we've bounced back quite a bit with that. But through the years, one amazing fact that I think nobody's really ever brought up, but kind of it's a little thing in the back of my mind is that, Ocean Gate is 100 years this year, this May. Mm-hmm. And we have only had 10 mayors in the entire 100 years. I happen to be the 10th one. And the mayors was controlled by one family for the longest time, which was 52 years of the Meese family. And then the rest, obviously, was the 8 of us. And out of those 8, the former mayor predecessor of mine was in 12, and I'm 12. So kind of think about it. Him and I are the third longest reigning mayors in the town because everybody else only had 1 year. But, it's interesting that, the community here as a whole are strictly based on volunteerism, pretty much. I mean, we have small staff, small employees, and you just get year after year, you get new ones, and they come down to retire here or raise their kids here, and it's changing, and it's helped changing the community for the better.
Ocean Gate is definitely one of those tourist attractions that people start to go into as we cross through Memorial Day weekend into the 4th of July and the rest of the summer, being a beach town, somewhere people want to go and on any given day and just relax, lay in the sand, enjoy the water. And you guys are just one of the many Jersey Shore towns that have continued to rebuild after Sandy and in the last 100 years after all the other storms that have affected it. What do you think also makes Ocean Gate so attractive to people that don't live in the borough or Ocean County?
I think the number one thing in most people's eyes and in mine for sure is this beach, our boardwalk and our beach. We have a 1 mile long boardwalk that probably there's more people walking from out of town than in town. I mean, that's seriously, I believe that. And there's always times I joke at a council meeting, and sometimes when I'm walking up here, I say I'm going to put a toll in, because we'd probably make a lot of money with people that come out of town. You see them getting out of their cars and they walk. This really is the jewel of the borough. The view we have here, the sunsets that we get. I mean, there was somebody just posted something that my wife showed me on Facebook recently about they think that Key West has sunset. You haven't seen Ocean Gates. And it's true. We really have some amazing people that have taken pictures over the years and just to see it. But the beach area is the best, we think, in Ocean County, as far as a quiet beach, our boardwalk, there's no amusements. We have activities all summer long up here, but, and the upkeep of this thank goodness that FEMA was able to pay the 100% of the replacement. The whole boardwalk's been replaced, and this year especially, I think I'm very grateful that the surrounding towns like Berkeley Township and Pine Beach have helped us groom our beaches and get it ready, take sand off the boardwalk, because we're not equipped for that, to make it, so everybody really can enjoy it and, not cost the taxpayers that much money.
Getting into the history things before I go over to Lou here, I remember, and I live in Toms River, I remember coming here back as a kid to the 4th of July parades and a lot of the other events. This town really takes a lot of pride in what it does and a lot of pride in the parades it puts on. There's always well attended. What kind of community is Ocean Gate Borough? Its residents and all the people that come through?
It's actually believe it or not, it's kind of hard to say this, but, not politically speaking, because that's, in a small town, it's brutal. But here, the people, for the most part, act together, work together for the common cause of Ocean Gate. We have beach and boardwalk crew that help raise money to maintain our boardwalk, paint our stuff. We have people that, help wherever we can do, which is unique, I think, for this community. I mean, yes, in the winter, a lot of them, the retirees, go someplace warmer, and I get that. But, they take pride in what they do. They take pride in their community. I've seen in the past, since Sandy and since our kind of almost recovery, we're close, that, now the residents are more apt to want these quality of life issues, which are very important. When I first got involved 21 years ago, it wasn't about the quality of life. It was, but it wasn't as pronounced as it is now. I mean, now it's, they want, they don't want the dogs on the boardwalk. They don't want the bikes on the boardwalk. And I get it. They are ordinances. They are rules. And, it was always taxes, water and sewer high. But that kind of went away because we've been keeping that stable. And now they are right, and we try very hard. The government, the council works hard with me to make sure that we keep it that way.
Lou, I want to bring you in. 100 years, definitely a significant amount of time. Ocean Gate's grown as a borough over those 100 years. What are some of the significant milestones or memories that have made Ocean Gate what Ocean Gate is still today?
Before I get into that, I just wanted to say that the mayor mentioned, Sandy. And I was a victim as well as everybody else. But this town did a masterful job in its cleanup and its help for the citizens. It's nice to be small. We're not Berkeley Township or Toms River, so our headaches were condensed, but they did a masterful job, and it turned out. And as far as volunteers go, there's an example over there, the park. There was nothing there. A group of men, most of them in their 60s, some near 70, put it together. That's Volunteers Park over there now. Actually, Ocean Gate goes past 100 years, the turn of the century. People got here by train, and they started coming down when property was up for sale. A company by the name of Great Eastern Corporation from Newark bought most of the property, and they advertised gateway to the ocean, and $50 for a lot if you won a lottery, through the Enquirer newspaper. And that's how they sold them. Now, people came by train because you could get here in one day by train. If you came by car, you need 15 tires and 2 days to get here because Route 70 was just dirt and stone at the time. So people came by train. And eventually they could go all the way up north on one track over to Barnegat Pier, which is no longer there, burned in 1948, and then they took it down around 50. It's over. There's still some old track bed back there by the restaurant, Martell's. What's the name of it now? I always forget. Water's Edge. And that's where it went across over in the seaside. So people came down back then. We have some pictures of shot. They came down because it was quiet, serene. It was beautiful. There's no. It's a boardwalk without all the games and the restaurants and all of that. We primarily have had 2 or 3 restaurants in town for 100 years. There was always candy shops and ice cream shops, more back then than there is now. But a number of things have grown. People came down for crabbing and swimming and boating, and they would dress to kill in their Sunday bests, and they would go out crabbing, dressed in their Sunday best, come back in, and enjoyed themselves and went back home. And eventually people started buying. In March of 1918, the town petitioned the state to secede from Berkeley Township. They were given the right to have an election. 30 people voted, all men, as the women like to remind me, because they didn't have the right to vote until 21. 26 said yes, and 4 said no. So Ocean Gate was born, and then on May 11th of that year, they got together, and they appointed 5 people, the first mayor, the constable, the tax assessor. I think then they went into a budget. Their budget was somewhere around, I think, $10,000 that year for the town, and I'm sure there were some people up in arms because they thought it was, a lot of money. We maintain a museum in town, the Ocean Gate Historical Society, since 1988. We have 2 buildings. We have the original train station. We have another building called the Pearl Green Building. It was named for that because of a woman who donated money for us to do that. And we have a caboose that we purchased from the Pennsylvania Railroad for $500, and it cost us about $7,000 to get it here and set it up. But that's part of our museum, and we leased the land from the town, who's gracious enough to lease us the land for $1 a year. I don't think we've paid them in the last several years, but we're liable to get a bill for $10 or $20 soon. And they take care of the lawn, and we take care of everything else. And it truly is a great site, and it keeps all our artifacts. We talked before we started about right now going on at the Ocean County Historical Society on Hadley Avenue. Is a display of Ocean Gate for the past 100 years, and it's going to be there for several months. People should go and take a look at it. It's very interesting.
How have you seen Ocean Gate, the traditions? I mentioned the 4th of July parade earlier to Mayor Kennedy. Mm-hmm. Some of these traditions that maybe started back in 1918 or in the 20s, the 30s, and so forth, passed on from generation to generation in what is really a family town.
Well, I had to learn that real quick because I married into it. The 2 mayors that he was talking about, one was my wife's grandfather and the other one was my wife's uncle. So H. Warren Meese and Floyd Meese. So I had to learn real quick. I had to learn when you walk down this boardwalk, if you go to the end, if you don't touch the board at the end, it doesn't count. And there's 2 of them on both ends. It's actually, I think, 1.1 mile long. That's tradition. I learned the tradition of the first pier versus the second pier. And when you were growing up, you were either part of the first pier gang or the second pier gang. My wife and I, she lived right in the middle, so she had to go either way. If she was down here, she wouldn't tell them. If she was down there, she wouldn't tell the people here. There was a lot of traditions. We have in our calendar pictures of the old I know you can take some shots of the old slides that were here, the biggest slides anywhere. You can see them right there. They're not around anymore because of injuries and lawyers, so they had to be taken down. But the kids back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, they were on those things all day long, and you can see how high they were, 30 feet in the air. So they were a huge attraction. They had a big thing here called the Razzle Dazzle. The kids would play on. There's a lot of tradition like that, and it runs deep. The 4th of July, back to the 40s. Again, her uncle was very integral in that, and I think he bought the first sailor hats, which is something that we sell all the time. It just became a tradition. I just wanted to add, too, that last year, I talked to the mayor and other people, and I said, listen, we're going to start, being the Historical Society, I think it's our responsibility to get moving on this, because the borough can't do everything, and we need to raise some funds to get things done this year. And not let the year pass, because none of us will be around for the next 100. So that's what we did. We've been meeting every first Thursday of the month, and Paul and his wife are part of our committee every month since September. We've got things coming up. There's August 11th is a huge day. I'll let Paul tell you about the fireworks and what's going on that day. June 30th, we're having a big volleyball tournament right here. He mentioned the dance here already. We're in the process of making T-shirts and hats right now to sell. Of course, July 4th, we're trying to enhance the parade a little bit. I know we've added a string band to it and hopefully some other things. I have a letter written to go out soon to people, encourage them to put floats in this year, with some new prizes. So, the July 4th parade is just, everybody comes because it just is what it is. It's one of the oldest ones probably in the state, if not the country.
Mayor Kennedy, getting back to you about some of the things that are being done this year to celebrate the 100th anniversary that occurred this month, and it's a good time heading into the summer. But what are some of the things that not just the people of Ocean Gate can look forward to, but people in neighboring towns in Ocean County, or even people visiting the shore this summer, can come and help Ocean Gate celebrate?
Well, we attract, especially on weekends, we attract a larger amount of people in town. With Memorial Day weekend really kind of kicking it off, even though we don't really do any activities. And like Lou said, we have the volleyball tournament the weekend before 4th of July. And then the parade, even though it's a Wednesday, I'm sure we'll have a lot of people. We're trying to encourage the activities for that. And I'm actually bringing back, I don't even know if they ever had it, but a tradition that goes back, maybe not to 1918, but I'm bringing a horse club. They're going to have horses with their club here from Jackson in the parade, as well as a carriage, a horse and buggy carriage that I'm going to be in. Just kind of unique. My wife wants to decorate, get us dressed up in that garb, but I don't know. It's usually so hot that day that it's kind of rough. But for that day, and then, with that weekend, we have a boat parade. We're trying to get 100 boats to launch out of the Ocean Gate Yacht Club and go up and down the river on July 7th. And, then every weekend from there we either have a band or a movie night or a DJ. And then obviously August 11th is a full-fledged day of the 5K fun walk, 1 mile walk in the morning, all in town. We keep that focused. I actually have 2 people that are really instrumental in that, helping me with that. And I think we have like 28 people signed up already online, so it's pretty neat. And that's on Ocean Gate. It's all small letters, oceangate.com, and just go for the links for events. Then we have the crafters and the vendors and the food trucks right here at Wildwood Avenue. Yeah, and the cardboard boat race, which I think is the 6th annual, I believe, from the First Aid Squad, which always draws a big crowd. That's at noon. And we have the Ocean County Vocational School out of Lakehurst playing in the afternoon that day, and a band at night. And then obviously, as they've done in the 90th birthday and the 95th, we're having a fireworks display at probably at 9 o'clock or so. And then in September, we're going to have hopefully we're going to have, once the kids get back in school, a reenactment from the first council meeting ever. Wow. In the school, so the kids can get involved and do stuff like that. And then we have possibly a thing or two in the fall. But just as a side note to all that, I said, like Lou had said, we're trying to keep the costs down, and he got this committee together. I've been able to go to corporate people, different sponsors, and was able to raise almost, I think I'm about $50 shy of $20,000. So the events, especially on the 11th, the 5K and all that, it will be at no cost to the taxpayers. It will all be paid for. So I think it'll be a great summer, as long as the weather holds out. I mean, we've had past couple months have been a little brutal, but it always seems the sun always shines. And like Lou said, the 4th of July parade goes back to the 40s, and I've had the distinction of being involved as a councilman, as a recreation committee for many, many years. And 3 years ago, we had to actually cancel it because the weather was so bad on 4th of July, but thank goodness it was on a Friday, so we had Saturday to back us up, and it actually worked out really, really well. So we have a lot planned, a lot of different activities. Our beach officially opens up June 15th, and along with the water park, which opens the 16th. And the water park has been a big hit for 2 years. It's brought up the revenues. You talk about bringing out-of-towners here. They come here. I mean, even though there's a small little fee, but they seem to come and spend a few hours and spend a few bucks at the concession stand and buy badges, and they enjoy themselves. We're trying to create that and keep it, that whole family atmosphere here.
Mayor Kennedy, thank you. Lou, thank you. And, of course, happy 100th anniversary to Ocean Gate.
Thanks, man.
You can find out more about what's going on in Ocean Gate Borough this summer to celebrate their 100th anniversary up at WOBM.com. Until next time, I'm Vin Ebenu.